I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, I'm just going to get straight into this video. My actions for the past few months have been very self-destructive, confrontational, and impulsive. It was shown in none other than the Timmeh situation, where I got unnecessarily confrontational and aggressive during a situation, and that drama would have never transpired had I not started it on Twitter. I've realized Twitter brings out basically the worst in me, and I'm glad that I've been suspended because I have no plans on coming back. Although I never intended to start beef with an 8-year-old, nor did I appreciate the full strike threats I received, or claims that I was a minor harasser or creep merely because I criticized the parents. I apologize to Timmeh's mother for starting the drama in the first place, and I know why I was blocked and I understand their point of view. It was embarrassing for me being an 18-year-old to get hostile over a Twitter block regarding the kid's parents, and I took it more personally than others, and I believe both sides could have been way more mature in this situation. Twitter is a drama-filled cesspit and has always continued to damage my mental health, along with many others in my same community. As embarrassing as it is to say, I even had a Twitter addiction, and I also felt compelled and obligated to respond to every negative post about me, further luring me down a rabbit hole of negativity, drama, and stress. Now this segment is dedicated to the Homotopia situation. I have already made my points entirely clear in my previous 100-minute video, and I did not lie in that video whatsoever. But just to summarize the situation, I originally made the server to be a safe work hangout server to siphon Twitter followers into this server and reintegrate them to a new Twitter account if my prior account was to ever get suspended because of XD Gamer mass reporting my accounts. Also, NSFW was quite literally always against the server rules. Rule 4 stated, adhere to Discord's community guidelines. The Discord community guidelines were literally linked in the rule page, and also stated, if you looked into it, to not expose minors to 18+ content. Also, on the first day of creating the server, a banned moderator called Day made an NSFW channel in which I took down very quickly. Also, witness testimony can also support this story. If the server was quote-unquote NSFW, why on the first day when I was actually active did I decide to completely disavow NSFW channels from being made on the server and close it down after the first hour when I found out? Also, for context too, at the time in May, I was suffering through very bad mental health. I was suicidal and I had police called on me at that time. I was not an active server owner and I was not online most of the time. Although for the times I did speak, I basically just vented. This was also a case in a YouTuber Discord server that I was in regarding my Parlo alias. Then after I vented, I proceeded to remove my posts after I looked back on my embarrassing venting and breakdown messages about relationships and parental issues, etc, and you can even see the response comment was someone trying to say that they were on the same boat as me. Upon my inactivity, I should have never entrusted users like Nattie, Forsyth, and my other moderation team members with mod permissions because of what it eventually divulged into. It was not an illegal CP server or an NSFW server, but it was a degenerate server that was not appropriate or professional. Had I had known what was happening, I would have taken abrupt action, and I take accountability for being a negligent server owner, and a situation on that caliber of degeneracy will never transpire again. I can give assurances to that. I never knew that the server would divulge into what it did, and I never expected Nat to do what she did. I never knowingly let minors post suggestive content of themselves, and most of the images they posted were abdominal progress pictures, none which were truly nudity whatsoever. And as for the quote-unquote NSFW images, most if not all the images were not nudity or NSFW whatsoever, except for the Garfield image. I even proved this with a Google reverse search engine in my aforementioned response video. Even multiple witness testimonies can conclude that the server was not NSFW. I literally list every single one of these points in that 1-hour response video. I found it entirely disingenuous, however, as well, to base the entire server off of a few disjointed messages, jokes, and images to basically ultimately portray the server as inherently NSFW when it wasn't. But once again, moderation should have been better to prevent what transpired from actually happening, and I shouldn't have entrusted teenagers to act mature when it came to these situations. However, once again, any inclination that I openly facilitated or knew what was transpiring in that server is a flat-out lie, and there is no proof proving my culpability in that matter. And you can watch my entire 100-minute response video going over more in depth regarding that situation. And if you want to, you can even read my response document too. The idea that I'm a creep or a predator or a pedophile over this situation is simply unfounded, incorrect, and misinformed. Pyro, who was the youngest person to my knowledge who was a contention point into this entire situation, was only 2 years 1 month younger than me. Just because the testimonies are from people who were associates of me in the Homotopia server doesn't detract the validity of what they ultimately said. Their messages and statements individually and categorically prove how I was not active in the server whatsoever and would even barely interact with anyone under that alias even in DMs. It also proves how, because I was so inactive, we were actually planning on getting another owner to take my place. To also add to the topic of changing owners, the reason why it was being discussed and brought up was because I had stated in the server that due to my mental decline I wanted to leave the server because I wasn't an active owner whatsoever, and that there was no purpose in being in the server because I spoke to barely any of these people. And once again, more screenshots are provided of me basically discussing the topic of antidepressants in the server with other server members before the messages obviously got deleted during my degrading depressive vent periods in which I would look back on and remove the messages. Pyro even acted at the time as a pseudo owner of the server upon my inactivity, however was more lenient with moderation compared to the other moderators I had, such as Aelin. Keep in mind, the archived logs of the server also prove my narrative too. I would randomly just join the server, type hi or the letter H out, and leave. Or I would just randomly vent about some very personal problems and then leave right after, eventually deleting my embarrassing vent messages in which stoked some people feeling worried about my mental health in the server. I never actually saw what transpired on any of the channels of the server to my knowledge, nor was I even active enough to see what had been transpiring in the general chat either. Keep in mind, the testimonies I provide in my response video and defense document are from people who were active in the server at the time. They actively saw what really happened and what do they gain from lying about it. Also, they know my Parlo alias too. They have for the past 5 months. Have I had lied in any of my responses, you would have thought at least one of them would have come out to share the truth. But in reality, they had originally called the misinformation out too. Also, speaking about misinformation, XD Gamer, the CP poster's original document calling out Homotopia, tried to claim that the age range of members present in the server was 15 to 43. However, the member who claimed that they were 43 years of age later claimed it was a joke and that they were a teenager, because keep in mind the server contained people who were mainly close in age to one another. Nattie Forsyth was the oldest, I believe, and she was 22 years of age. She originally contacted me asking to get moderation perms to ensure no NSFW or explicit images were posted in the server. Whether she knew that minors were present in the server or not is a completely different contention point. She claims she didn't see the introductions channel or rules and believed it was a lewd server, and according to her, she banned minors who had their age present in their bios, so you can make your mind up regarding whether she's speaking the truth or not. But I made it evident that I had no ill intentions ever giving her moderator in this circumstance. I absolutely wish that this all never happened and the server was never created in the first place. I had no idea she was going to do that, and still to this day I'm absolutely disgusted for what she did, and there is no defense whatsoever for what transpired. There is only so many times that Nattie Forsyth can pull the excuse that she didn't know the ages until there's an evident pattern of degeneracy there. I was extremely foolish to believe that she had originally learnt from her past mistakes, and for that I take accountability in incorrectly trusting her with moderation perms of the server, because at the time I didn't fully understand the full grasp of her actions. The point was that despite ultimately proving itself to have failed in multiple aspects, there were numerous moderators in the server providing a high member to moderator ratio, and the bad actors such as Day, who was being a creep to minors, was banned, racists were banned, and other creeps were banned too. And due to Nat's own testimony, the server was not a NSFW or porn server. However, the reason why Homotopia became as degenerate as it did was also because of the moderator's ineptitude and incapability. Once XD Gamer came out regarding his document covering the entire situation, I eventually saw what Nat had posted and I was furious. I immediately got in a call with my friend Hox and confronted Nattie Forsyth about it as well, and here is a testimony from Hox regarding this situation. Can you attest that after I found out what Nat had done that I went off at her in a private VC with me, you, and her?
Yes, you did, and you were very angry about it. Definitely didn't agree with what she did. You definitely thought that her posting it was completely inappropriate, unacceptable, and morally wrong.
Okay, thank you. Alright. Now regarding Nattie Forsyth, I want nothing to do with their past controversies or drama, and I do not want to be associated with them whatsoever. I only kept a bridge of contact to them recently, just to get their testimony regarding the Homotopia situation, and to also ask about their past controversies too, because I'm well versed in the situation, and I've got on both sides of the story, from big Roblox YouTubers and Nattie Forsyth's response. If they intend to defend themselves, that's up to them, but I'm not going to be discussing them from this point onwards. What they have done in multiple instances is not defensible, and I wish to move on from her sexual degeneracy and past actions. Most if not all the controversy they get into is due to their own actions and repeated degeneracy, and they honestly need to get offline and find some sort of job or form of hobby as self-fulfillment rather than being terminally online, as it is clearly not beneficial for them whatsoever. People have told me I've been manipulated by them, and maybe I have, only time will tell. But the best idea I could ever make is just to ultimately cut them off, because even my IRL friends tell me that even having a bridge of connections with this person was a bad thing to do. As for my content, I'm completely aware of how problematic it can be, as well as the idea that is content farming and drama slop. As for this, I've been silently reading criticisms regarding it and have decided to act upon the criticisms provided, and will move on to slowly integrate my channel into more well-formatted documentary type videos, minus the clickbaity aspect of the thumbnails, in which while do cover the topic of what is discussed in the videos and do offer context, is sometimes subjectively seen as being misleading and is sometimes, I'll admit, over the top. Plus, I do understand too that the shouting in my videos and the consistent sound effects also throw the atmosphere of the video off. The sound effects were only really ever added because attention spans seem to be heavily reliant on fast-paced content, in which was ultimately annoying to create. As for trolls and people attempting to bait a reaction out of me by purely saying inflammatory statements, I would try my best to never respond to any again. This was arguably the best choice to make regarding this situation, because consistently responding to trolls and bait accounts dug myself in a deeper and deeper hole and made myself look like a bigger target and a bigger idiot because I would keep giving in to trolls. And people are getting the false impression that I'm trying to infer that people giving me criticism are trolls, and that I intend to ignore them too, when I never stated that whatsoever. But don't judge me on what I just say in this video, judge me on how I progress my channel going forward. As saying you'll do something is one thing, but actively going through what you set out is another. Keep in mind there may be times that I accidentally make a video that can be subjectively seen as quote-unquote clickbait, as if no other YouTuber does it themselves, but I am basically making a roadmap currently on how to progress in the future. I will continue to call out bad actors in the community when I have enough basis to, and will report on the news and stories that transpire in this community, but I will most certainly not compulsively interject myself in every situation like I have done before, and I will try and take a much more mature approach, less prone to being sensitive. What I have listed in this video on how my content can and will improve may seem vague to some, and I will be sure to adapt on what I mean in upcoming videos, but for now that will be all that is addressed in this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.